All right, let's do this thing. Hello and welcome back. And if I'm being entirely honest, this is not a video that I intended to make right now at least. And the reason being is it's actually still an evolving situation. Why am I making it right now? Well, I made a post on one of the Facebook Minnie FLX groups, and I was just excited to share a picture of some of my camping trips. And I had mentioned in the description of said post how that first camping trip was quite a challenge, and the bit that people, and rightfully so, caught on to was that I mentioned a potential fire hazard. Now, again, in the interest of all parties involved, I wanted to give Winnebago an opportunity for this to shake out. But given that I received so many inquiries and maybe even a little bit of criticism saying that my post had sounded cryptic, maybe it is time that I bring everybody up to speed. So to do that, let's go inside and have a chat. Okay, so this story is inherently going to involve a little bit of show and tell, but that's okay. So the story actually begins about a year ago when I was doing the search for which trailer was going to work best for me. And I had filmed a episode on the mountain biker's perspective on the standard Mini product, and then through my own decision-making process came to land on the FLX version being the best for me. It was through that process that I was speaking to one of the individuals at Winnebago. It's not my intention to single anybody out in this video, but suffice it to say that they're an influential person in the company. And they had informed me on the suggestion that I had given, which is instead of just one duct for your heater, why not have a second that, say, faces towards the door, which is going to be an area of a lot of mixing air. And the response I received was that, well, actually the second duct blows into the underbelly to heat the tank's inlines. And that is something that I'm long time familiar with. In the industry, you would see that described as heated enclosed underbellies. As I would later come to find out, that is not true on the FLX product. So fast forward to the spring/late winter. It was my first trip and I wanted to make it easy on myself. I went to Kootenay National Park in British Columbia, Canada, and it was an electrical equipped site. Just trying to reduce and eliminate all the sort of, learning curves all at once, that one namely being the electrical system. It was on that trip that I was experiencing and discovered a number of little issues, the root cause of which I believe I've discovered all. However, of those issues, one of which was the Truma heat giving a code that I believe interpreted something to the effect of the recirc pump or recirc circuit or something like that. Maybe it was overheat. I can't quite remember exactly what that was. The unit itself has one outlet that blows the heat, and it has a cold air return, which is from within the cab of the trailer, and that is meant to increase overall system efficiency. No sense drawing in cold air from the outside, no different than a house. So I ended up driving into town and doing some Googling, and I found a video of a gentleman saying that there was insufficient cold air return to the Truma heat, and he ended up installing I think it was like a residential style floor vent grate beneath the shower. That's not inherently a bad idea, and I will explain that more towards the end of this video, as that's something I may even consider exploring myself for both the reason of this video as well as another reason. Nevertheless, while I was watching that video, I couldn't help but notice something that was very important for me in my buying decision, and that was that it appeared that the Truma heat only had one outlet directly from the heater itself into the trailer. So I jokingly said in that video, I try not to rage drive back to the campsite to remove this access panel to confirm that that was the case. because to me, again, having that heated enclosed underbelly really does extend the capabilities of this trailer. But moreover, when I'm camping in the mountains, the average nighttime low in Banff, Alberta is around freezing time for June. So it's normal for me to be camping in overnight conditions whereby there is the risk of freezing. And when you have an expensive product like this, that's the last thing that you want to do. Critics may also say, well, you can use the tank pad heaters. Yes, you can, but they're designed to keep the fluid in that tank above freezing. They're not intended to circulate warm air around the pipes and conduits and keep those from freezing. I drove back to the campsite, I removed this panel, and that's where I discovered, again, that it was not in fact heated underneath, but also that the one outlet that they did have was significantly kinked. But I'm going to bring you down for a close-up view so you can follow me for what exactly I'm talking about. All right, bit of a tight squeeze in this area, so I do apologize if my body partially obstructs the video. Nevertheless, this is the access panel that I have removed from the heater. You can see that there is one main outlet, and this is the cold air return over on the right. As I removed this, I discovered that this conduit was actually more in its like a downward orientation, and it was not actually connected to physically or even aligned with the heater outlet. Moreover, according to the Truma installation instructions, Truma requires a minimum of 10 centimeters from the outlet of the heater before there is any bend in the system. And that is meant to reduce the back pressure that the heater may experience. Looking at this conduit, it's pretty clear that there was not a minimum of 10 centimeters, which works out to 15 centimeters, 6 inches. So let's call it 4 inches plus or minus between the outlet and any obstruction. In fact, I hope that you can see this okay, but there is quite the malformation to this conduit and tubing. What I believe is the reason for this is because this panel is secured from the outside. I believe that what Winnebago is doing is they're cutting a hole here, they're bending this in such a way that it generally aligns with the outlet of the heater, and they're just kind of hoping for the best, that most of this hot air is going to go blow out through this vent. Because there's no way you could physically connect and attach this conduit to the outflow of the heater and actually be able to get this panel off because of the way that it's installed. This can't go in. What you would really need to do is cut this down the middle and have a fixed panel in place where you could access it from the side to secure the conduit onto the heater. And again, properly aligned, because this bending is not consistent with Truma's installation requirements. So in my situation, again, what I believe was happening was the hot air was blowing out. This conduit had rotated in such a way that it was no longer even oriented at the face of it. The hot air was then hitting this panel and being trapped in this area and then being recirculated or drawn in rather through the cold air return. But actually it was drawing in its own hot air. This is really important for a few reasons, and we're going to take a step back metaphorically and literally, and I'll show you why. So this is a 1500 watt space heater. I think we are all in mutual agreement that you would not take a 1500 watt space heater, put it in an enclosed space such as this cupboard, which is made out of wood and electricity and propane plumbing, and cap it off and just let essentially the passive air blow out. A 1500 watt space heater, when you convert it from watts to BTUs, is 5,118 BTUs. The Truma Vario heat, when it's pushing out its highest setting, is 11,500 BTUs, which is more than twice the BTUs that this space heater is putting out. So I think we would definitely all agree that you would not take 2 of these space heaters and put them in a compartment that size on full blast. And that's essentially what Winnebago has done. The reason why I say that is because the sensor for, or the thermostat rather, for the Truma VarioHeat is located up by the door. And so in that area, it's not seeing much of the hot air that this is putting out because of the improper installation and what I believe is not having ever connected the conduit to the actual heater itself, and that hot air being trapped in there. So then it sends a signal to the control unit above my head and says, hey, we're still cold out here, bump it up. And because the VarioHeat has an automatic setting with 3 different power outputs, it's gonna then keep bumping it up and bumping it up and bumping it up from, you know, it was like the 4,000 to the 8,900 to the 11,500 BTUs, being like, hey, here's all the hot air that I can put out. And it's chucking out all this hot air, which is getting trapped in this compartment and getting sucked into itself. And then it's like, oh man, we've just overheated, we need to shut down. All right, so the story continues. So I discovered what I believed was the reason for the overheating. It was clear to me that this system, which was trapping the heat in there, was not only causing my heater to go out problem, but I had also discovered what I believed was a potential fire hazard. Again, the amount of heat output in a confined space built from very dry particulate wood and also having a propane source in that area. The first thing that I did was contact one of the Winnebago staff members. Again, I'm not naming any names. They had advised me to contact another individual who is much more influential in the company. I called and left a message and stated that I had discovered a potential fire hazard related to the product. I did not provide any specifics in an attempt to be brief in my message. However, it has been, at time of recording, approximately 2 months, and I have not yet been responded to. All things considered, may actually be perfectly fine, as this person's role is not necessarily in warranty. And so I thought to myself, Winnebago has surely a warranty department. Maybe my calling and leaving this message with this person was sort of skipping that chain of process. Maybe I'm in the wrong and have sort of jumped steps. So I thought to myself, what's the most likely way that Winnebago would traditionally discover potential issues with the product? That would be through a warranty service. So I actually just got the unit back yesterday, not even 24 hours ago. What I did was I had 3 main issues to report. I was trying to give enough so it was worth both my time and the dealer's time to pursue a potential warranty claims. I did give specific instructions to the dealer to not initiate any repair. My purpose was for documentation and information purposes first and foremost. My goal has been and still is to help in any way that I can, Winnebago make the best product that they can, because I, as a consumer, want to use the best product that's available on the market. It's a help you, help me situation, right? I have since kept this panel off because I have done 2 other trips since then. Unfortunately, the dealer told me that because I had tampered with the heater, i.e. removing this, that they were unable to begin or process any warranty information or claim to Winnebago. But for the low price of $150 an hour, I could pay them to reinstall this and then potentially remove it if they were able to diagnose or find the same problem. And at that point, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So then I took the next step, which was I contacted Winnebago's customer service. I spoke with one of the customer service representatives. I informed them, they documented the case, And then I also offered to send a follow-up email with illustrations and pictures and explanations as best I can. So if there is widespread issue with how the conduit has been routed, installed, and potentially not secured to the heater, that there could be potential safety concerns from that. That is where we find ourselves today. So I have been exceptionally busy. I just worked a 52-hour work week. I have about 15 things I need to do in the few hours left today and what I have available to me tomorrow, because this week I am leaving on, gosh, is it like a 20-day trip with this trailer? So that is the reason for which I have not made a formal video up until this point, but I do accept and acknowledge the potential timeliness. I believe one person commented saying, please describe the issue so that we can investigate if we have similar issues. And it was that comment that inspired and motivated me to make this video today, because they're absolutely right. My original intent, as mentioned, was to help Winnebago. What I hadn't necessarily considered was the risk that other people may potentially experience. Now, I describe risk as a personal opinion. I have tried to remain factual in terms of the details that I've been able to find, both speaking with Truma as well as reviewing the Truma installation guide literature. I'm trying to be as factual as I can, such that, well, I really just don't want to create sensationalized drama or, at very worst, any kind of like litigation. So that's not my intent here, but I do understand anybody's concern, as it was a concern for me. So maybe I haven't completely explained myself best, but I believe by removing this access panel and using the trailer as it is, I am preventing a situation whereby that hot air is being trapped. So for me, this is the solution that I'm currently using, full well knowing that there is risk of, if you have pets or children or anything of the sort, that they could get their little fingers or whatever, in there and hurt, or, there's also some exposed electrical, that sort of thing. It's just me. So I'm accepting the kind of risks that come with this. Moreover, you yourselves may be told by your dealer that if you remove this to prevent the trailer from burning down, if you feel that that's a potential hazard, as I do, that they will consider this tampering with your unit. So be forewarned in that sense. Last but not least, I want to take a quick visit back into the washroom and talk about the cold air return system, as that might be something that I'll explore, and I think maybe other people would be worth exploring too as well. All right, so looking down here at the heater compartment, we can see that under here, this is your cold air return. Now, if I was to measure this, actually, we have a measuring tape right here. So, of course, I've got the zipper all jammed up. Let's see here. So if we were to measure the depth here, this is approximately 1.75 to 2 inches on the back, which works out to 1.75 2 inches, 4.5, call it 5 centimeters. So 5 times, let's see here, 23. That's approximately 100 square centimeters of cold air return. This is the most direct path because we can see that this panel here obstructs any direct airflow, but this does have approximately like a 1 to 2 centimeter gap between the bottom of this panel and the top of this board, this kick plate, where cold air still can come up and return into this area. It's quite tight, but it is possible. So in theory, this may meet the minimum cold air return requirements. That's not to say that while the video that I found that was claiming the issue for the overheating was a lack of cold air or insufficient cold air return, I believe that to be potentially true, but not the underlying root cause. The underlying root cause being how this conduit is ducted. With that said, we know that this access panel exists to gain access to the drain for your shower as well as the plumbing. And if you are, as I am, intending on using this product in extended cold temperatures, then adding a cold air return here, whereby cold air can flow underneath the shower and then up into this compartment to add additional cold air return here, would be beneficial for not only the vario heat, potentially reducing the cold air zone that this system does inherently create, and also introducing, though cold air, warmer than ambient outside temperature, or let's say above freezing air, circulating around the drain and water lines underneath here. So I think it's a good idea for those three reasons. I don't believe that it is the underlying reason for why people have experienced, or according to that video, people have reportedly experienced overheating issues with this unit. So I did want to cover that in here nonetheless. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Once more, I hope that you appreciate that this is still an evolving situation. Please accept my apology for any perceivable caginess or lack of disclosure. That post really was not intended to bring this to light. I will go ahead and on that page link this video to everybody involved so that you can follow what I believe are the facts of the situation and pursue or make decisions for yourselves thereafter. I do make a promise and a commitment to update as this situation unfolds. My hope is that Winnebago will, for everybody else, be able to provide confirmation or solution if this is not installed according to Truma's recommendations. However, for myself personally, I really am frustrated at the lack of heat ducting into the enclosed underbelly. So what I will end up inevitably pursuing, and it's already my intention to do so right now, is implementing a solution whereby I will hopefully be able to reposition the heater in such a way that will allow for a secondary conduit takeoff and have that be installed consistent with Truma's recommendations. And I have been speaking to Truma about that myself, but that will involve some custom fabrication. And being that summer's finally arrived here in Western Canada and it's like super hot and I'm already melting, I'm kicking this project down to the fall. I have far too many other projects I need to take care of before then. If you appreciate the honesty, candidness, whatever, please consider giving this video a like. It will help the algorithm promote this video to other people and other FLX owners. Oh, got another train coming in. Very cool. Oh, don't run the track, buddy. Don't do it. Oh, I don't want to look. All right, good. They stopped. Somebody else jumped the tracks right in front of a train earlier. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me, and that way you won't have to then proactively come back and look for updates on the situation as it unfolds. If you have any specific questions for me, please ask them in the comments down below. I try to be as responsive as possible to everyone, and I will provide you with whatever information that I best can. Of course, keeping in mind I'm trying to be respectful and not call out anybody specifically for the fact that I don't know what each and everybody's responsibilities are, and these things unfortunately can and I'm sure do fall through some of the administrative cracks. So I am trying my best from a consumer's perspective in approaching Winnebago from multiple different avenues, again with the intention of building the best product that we can. So in the meanwhile, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely do appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in another one. So you take care, and bye for now.